I want to dive straight into it and just talk about Black Panther, which was such an incredible film when it came out. I love the cinematography, the score by Ludwig, who also did the score for Tenet, Mandalorian, and a bunch of other different shows and movies and stuff like that. Everything for me came together in Black Panther, and it's kind of a situation where it's like I never really understood how important representation was until you get a movie that has an all-black cast that's not about fucking slavery.
Yes.
It's
ABC,
so rare.
all black cast. Yeah.
It's so rare that you can, like, how many movies can you think of that it's an all-black cast and it's all positive and it's not about slavery? There's really not that many. So seeing...
It's not many. No.
So seeing a bulletproof billionaire African king, trillionaire, it's such an incredible thing. So let's just dive straight into it. And Chris, I want to start with you, and I want to know, do you like Black Panther? Do you like, what do you love about the film? Some of your favorite moments?
Dude, I
Tread
love
lightly,
this movie.
Chris. Okay.
This is the worst MCU movie. No, dude, I love this movie. The way Ryan Coogler has developed Wakanda with all the different color palettes for all the individual tribes. And if you just watch Chadwick Boseman walk around Wakanda, like behind the scenes, it feels like a lived-in place. It feels like a real place. Like it's almost like what Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings. He didn't have as much time to have us live in Wakanda with those characters, but he flushed it out in a way that makes it feel like a real place. And I absolutely love that. And Chadwick Boseman just fully embodied T'Challa as a character, and I'm so sad that we won't be seeing him again. But I really want to bring attention to the domestic box office for this film, because so few movies, so few single movies, and when I say that, I mean movies that have like one character's name in the title, so like Black Panther or Captain Marvel or Spider-Man or Captain America or whatever. So few of those movies have breached the $1 billion mark. And in fact, there's only one other single movie that has done so, which we're going to be talking about later, that isn't like a team-up movie, and Black Panther's one of them. The only movies that have been able to do this are Iron Man 3, James's favorite MCU film, Spider-Man Far From Home, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel. But I'm thoroughly convinced that the only reason Iron Man 3 and Far From Home breached the $1 billion mark is because they came directly after Avengers movies.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, what's going to happen next? We absolutely have to go see these movies. But I mean, Black Panther did it on its own, which is a huge feat in and of itself. And it proves like how much of a cultural phenomenon this movie was. And I think that's just really cool.
Yeah, man. God, I can't wait to get deeper into this movie because there's so many amazing things to talk about. Like you alluded to, Chris, like the color palette of this film, the different designs for all of the different tribes. Wakanda feels like a real place, a real lived-in place. And we'll get into the deeper parts of it, like the duality between what Eric Killmonger is fighting for and what T'Challa is fighting for. So we'll get into that. But Ray, I want to know, what are your general thoughts on Black Panther?
So, I mean, it's no secret that Black Panther is legitimately my favorite movie in the MCU, straight up. It just, I relate the most to it. It's beautiful. The score is incredible. I still stand by it has the best music also in the MCU. The entire soundtrack slaps and fits, I think, almost every situation damn near perfectly. Goodness, when I was rewatching it again earlier, when he goes, I this part never gets old. Literally, like all of a sudden, I'm tearing up. And I'm like, "What is wrong? What just happened?" And I'm like, "It's because it's beautiful.
Something's touching me in here.
Yes,
I don't
exactly.
know what's happening.
What just happened?" But no, it's just they brought, like you said, Chris, he brought so much life to Wakanda that I just did not expect to ever see on the movie screen, that I couldn't believe it, and I still can't. And it's just, you could tell that entire cast, the entire cast, was close with one another, and they really enjoyed working with each other. You can tell just in the way that they talk to each other, the banter, the tense moments are tense, the sad moments are sad. Like everything just like it was the perfect storm for me. Everything just clicked in the right spots. Like I said, the one part that let us down was technology, which we all know. You know, with the
don't talk
the
about those
CGI
moments.
No, I mean there are plenty of them. It's the thing though. It's like if it was just like once, I'd be like, yeah, but you can if you pay attention, there's a lot of
the first ceremony. Ooh, everyone that was standing on the ledge, like it's real rough.
It's real rough, and I mean, and I feel like it's because there was so much going on. Like, maybe it was just they were kind of maxed out. To be honest, it's like, yo, there's like all these people with all these different types of clothes. We can't lose them in the background. This is all green screen, so it's like, how much light can you get in there? You know, so that's really like my only small complaint about it was just like, yeah, sometimes just the technology and the CGI just doesn't work well, and you know, that's hard when you're making a completely fictional city. So. I mean, I don't know, but I love it, and I always will. So, straight up.
Yeah, spicy.
Yeah, I agree with everything Ray said. I love the whole like cinematography of Black Panther. It's one of the few Marvel films I'll watch more than once, just because of what it represents and how you just fall in love with T'Challa and how well Chadwick Boseman plays this character who is known for just being that dude, you know, in the Marvel universe. I love the costume designs in Black Panther. They really researched a lot of real tribal colors and cultures, and from like the earrings and like, you know, how the hair, like they really took their time with this, with making it seem like this is a real place in Africa. Fictitious, but you're getting everything, the cultural aspect of it. So I really did love that. I love the stunt doubles in this movie, like the Dora Milaje. I was like, man, if I had confidence back then to shave my head up, I would have auditioned, because I love it. Like they shine on screen too. Like just the star-studded cast. Forrest Whitaker did a great job. Angela Bassett, like. Just I did love that, and the issue I did have was with the CGI, especially when the major fight scenes towards the end. That was Marvel trying to like push this whole like, you know, technology narrative, which I get, and the whole like, you know, taking his mask off like Iron Man. I'm just like, no, stop it. Like let's just keep it. T'Challa's kicking ass back in Civil War. Let's just try and keep it, you know, with upgrades. But other than that, it was a great movie, and I love the soundtrack. You know, I instantly downloaded the other like album that put out.
That Kendrick put out.
The Kendrick,
yes, the Black Panther album by Kendrick.
Yes,
All the Stars is one of my favorite songs.
I have that on vinyl. I play that on repeat. It's so good. I like when I'm driving, and I'm just chilling. I throw on that Killmonger theme, and
it's sick, bro.
I play Ops all the time on my playlist. Like I love that song.
Like I said, Ludwig did his damn thing for the movie soundtrack. Like, but then Kendrick gave us a whole ass epic with I'm like, come on, man. So I don't know. Like I said, Black Panther just was a point in time where everything just hit.
Yeah,
like all of it. So, man, so good. I mean, not to mention I saw it like 7 times in theaters. So, yeah, I did my part, bro, to get that $1 billion.
Yeah, you're definitely responsible.
I saw it for free.
Now I paid for myself and multiple people 7 times because I was like, we going to see this movie.
So I saw for free 3 weeks advance, earlier screening, met Chadwick and the whole cast.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a free AMC ticket and we went to go see Black Panther.
I saw that movie at the height of Movie Pass, so I saw it like 8 or 9 times in theaters.
Oh,
so
more times
I mean,
me.
yeah, so I absolutely love that movie. I own it twice on Blu-ray because when the 4K Steelbook came out, I had to own it. So like I love this movie. It means so much to me. Like, Abe, what are your thoughts on this?
Omonaija, first of all. All right. So when I went to see Black Panther, I saw it in Pasadena with a bunch of friends. Black being one of them. We was bumping the whole All the Stars album in the whip. Like we had Ops playing.
I love Ops.
The way Black drives is like he's going 100 and 50, right? So windows down, you just have a car full of Black men about to go to see Black Panther, especially me being Nigerian as well. I was in Buba Shokoto. I had the Nigerian flag with me. We were crossing the street light was green, and I'm over here as if the Super Eagles just won the World Cup. I'm just like, y'all gonna see me, and I'm gonna take my time across these streets. Y'all can hit me, but that's a lawsuit, right? So I'm just walking through like mad hype. I got pictures on Facebook, and even when we got to the theater, like as soon as it started, I stood up, I waved my flag. During the hype moments of the film, I stood up, I waved my flag. Like I was just so proud
Hey, sit your ass down. I can't see.
I was just so proud because, like you guys mentioned, this is an all-black cast that pays homage to multiple African cultures and identities. And it has nothing to do with slavery, racism, or any of that black porn trauma that people love to watch nowadays. It was just a like Spice, like you mentioned, a king who's rich, who runs a country, and what a country goes through. It was so great. And really, if I have to say I have any issues, well, first of all, because I'm a big Weekend stan, when Pray For Me came on, when they had pulled up to the casino, I lost my mind. I lost my mind.
Bro.
I love The Weeknd. I love him. I adore him, right? So the only qualms I would have to say is actually with Kendrick and the album, because I'm like, hey, yo, where my Nigerian artists at? You know, like I seen you been peeping some South African, some Central. Where my Nigerian? Where's Davido? Where's Olave? I got a little jealous. But overall, I was just really happy with the film.
Yeah, Vash.
For me, I had a great time with the film. I like I mentioned earlier, I saw it like 2 or 3 weeks before, met the cast. Maybe that gave it a better elevation of my experience of the first time I watched it. Like meeting Chadwick, meeting M'Baku. Like that dude is tall as hell.
He's big.
And he's a bit like, I'm like, damn, those chests, those pecs. It comes off the jacket and everything, like makes sense and everything. So I was like, wow. So like that just elevated the experience overall for me, and meeting the cast helped it to experience the movie as a whole. And I tried to watch it last year when Chadwick passed away, like that same week and everything. I tried to watch it. I couldn't do it.
It was hard, man.
Watching it, it was hard. I tried to watch it. I was like, nah, I couldn't do it. I probably had it for 5-10 minutes. I just couldn't. I cried. Watching it this time, like twice this past week, I loved it. Still teared at the end both times because it's just amazing for what it is, and seeing how they put their own inspiration with the voice acting from coming from Wakanda, like coming from that country that's technically not real, but putting their own twist of the culture in live action. It was beautiful. And I do agree. My one con with what you guys said is taking off the mask all the time during the suit. Like that was bothering me during this rewatch, because when I saw it the first couple of times years ago, I didn't really pay mind to it. But during the rewatch, I'm like, damn, he takes off the helmet a lot of times.
That's an actor thing,
like,
dude. Everyone does.
More convenient for them.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
I get it. I get it. When they say the lines, the roles, having the helmet on is very hard to say it. Uncomfortable. Having it on for the whole day, I get it.
It's not like the Power Rangers where they're dubbing the lines, my guy.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, it's so tough. It's like, I probably would count, like, he almost took off the mask or take the helmet, like, almost throughout most of the film. But I get it. Also, it works for the stunt double, too. So it makes sense also for the stunt double. Makes sense for the scenes. The CG did bother me again at the end, watching it when it was Killmonger versus T'Challa. That was like seeing the whole thing going. I'm like, rewatching it does not hold on, but still entertaining. I love the messages, like James brought up. We're gonna dive into it more, but the messages with Killmonger when speaking about the outside of Wakanda, the slavery, helping people out there in the other countries, that was just beautiful. Like I love both of them acted their ass off throughout the whole film. Each person put their role, and when like I can't really speak so high about this film because it's so good. Like I really don't have that much comments. Like I could just speak so highly of what you guys all said about it. Like I had such a great time with it, and I could speak more about it.
Yeah, I love this. I love this movie so much. Like you guys already said pretty much everything there is to say about like just like the general thoughts of the film, but like getting into more like nitty-gritty details, specific things that I really liked about the film was the further exploration of Wakandan tech. Right, the Kamuyo beads. I love seeing how that works.
Beautiful.
The new Black Panther suit, the fact that it's all nanotech, the fact that it can absorb kinetic energy, the remote piloting tech that Shuri designs, where you can just throw a disc on a car and you have full control over it. That Korea casino sequence is is my favorite sequence in the entire movie. Actually,
awesome.
Really?
Like Abe said, like when the music kicks in, they walk into the casino. Lupita Nyong'o
Somebody pray for me.
is
Oh
so
my God.
gorgeous. And then when the fight breaks out, they have this amazing like digital one take, and it's so good.
That's my favorite part of the movie. Is the fight inside the casino is incredible.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you saw, but Ryan Coogler, when he explained that scene, the whole
the colors,
the use of the colors, and how I was like,
I was like, you are what I define as a genius. Because I was like, I would have never thought about that.
No,
that's
literally.
Wild. But no, I love that, and and I feel like this was also them demonstrating and like cementing that Shuri is the smartest person in the world in this universe.
Indeed. Yes, sir.
100%.
Like she literally single-handedly is responsible for the advances in Wakanda technology, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
At
like
15 years
it's crazy insane when she told Bruce Banner, like, hey, why do you need to do this to Vision instead? Like he was like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like it shows how smart Shuri is, knowing that she outsmarts Bruce and Tony Stark. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
her
amazing.
Only competition is Riri, and of course, Mr. Richards.
I would love
if he even exists.
We'll see.
Whatever.
We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do with those characters.
Exactly. We don't know how they're
Riri and Shuri are definitely either be best friends or they're quarreling.
If we don't get to see them together, I will be very upset. Yeah. I need to see Riri and Shuri meet, at least in this universe, like straight up.
Kevin Feige is too much of a fan. There's no way that won't happen.
I need it.
Right?
I'm sure it will.
Just to continue on with that fight sequence in Korea, I love when Okoye gets out of the car, throws the spear through the SUV, and just completely stops it. Like, just further showing like how incredible the Wakandan tech is. Like,
how
amazing.
When you use vibranium for what it's meant to be used for, it is deadly.
Even them using guns, they're like, this is so primitive, and she just comes down. She just easily like, we're so past guns.
Shout out to the MCU for not nerfing the Dora Milaje.
Why?
Every time we've seen them, made them as badass as possible, and all their scenes is just like, yo,
you can't make the Dora Milaje
lack
in any kind of way.
Can I get your number?
I mean, let's be real. Had they messed that up, I feel like it would have been a wrap for that entire.
And I think a lot of the Dora Milaje actresses are actual like martial artists.
They're like stunt martial artists.
Yeah, I follow all of them on social media.
I'm surprised.
Like you can't.
They're great.
Especially in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh my God,
they're so badass in that show.
Think about, but the other thing I love is think about how often they are in the movie as everybody else. Like the Dora Milaje are ever present, just about.
Yeah.
Which is should be.
And they hold their own standards separate.
They do.
Yeah. Other films, they'll have those type of groups fade to the back and be like, all right, they have their one moment. That's it.
They are ever present, and I love it so much.
I like how they have their own separate presence, like out from in the MCU. Like the Dora Milaje, like.
And I have a headcanon on that, and that's because of what happened to King T'Chaka. Is that's why they're so close to T'Challa all the time. It's because they weren't
very
there
protective
for King T'Chaka, so they're like, we're not gonna let that happen again. And I'm like, oof, man.
Plus, also their dialogue too. Like we remember the one instance with short. It wasn't Scarlet, not Black Widow, but that exchange between Okoye and whatnot in the garage in the previous film. Then was that not Natasha? Was
I
Yeah,
thought it
wasn't
was
that
Black
shit?
Widow.
Yeah, that was
it?
Tasha.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
You
Yeah.
In
Because I was
Infinity War,
like,
right?
I didn't want to.
That was. I thought that was
That was in
wrong
Civil
thing
War.
now.
That was Civil War.
Civil War.
Oh, right. I know what you meant.
So,
I would love to see this, but not right now.
Yeah.
that dialogue there, even in
Yeah.
Black Panther, the dialogue
You felt
between David Kaluuya's character and
Yes.
Okoye, and other, like the dialogue in Falcon and Winter Soldiers. Not only do they bring action, but their dialogue is also meaningful. It's impactful. You never feel like they're wasting their lines at all.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never feel wasted.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. There's two things that I want to talk about real quick. First off, let's talk about Wakabe. How do you guys feel about his turn? Spicy, I want to start with you. How do you feel about his turn against T'Challa? Like, I get that T'Challa did technically kind of let Claw get away, but at the same time he was hit with a grenade. So it's like,
But
this was my first time out trying to catch him. Like, how can you just give up on our friendship that quickly? So how did you feel about the turn?
Yeah, I feel like that turn was so stupid. I was just like, I think it was just a means of like just chaos, within Wakanda for that. But I don't know, I was just like, dude, like, he just became king. His dad just died. Like, of course he's gonna, you're his homie. So you should understand the weight that comes with being king of Wakanda. Like, you understand. So for him to be like immediately been like, well, I'm siding with Killmonger now. It's just like, on what grounds? Like, to be honest, he didn't even seem that upset. He was just like, well, I just decided since you didn't want to catch him, he's like, did you not see the freaking they're in Korea, like did you not see, like, they're trying to? So I just didn't like it. I feel like it wasn't believable, but I did like on the battlefield how they kind of made him come back with Okoye, where she's just like, dude, like, come on, like, this is ridiculous. I like the little scene like with the I don't know what kind of animal that is.
The rhino.
But how he's like when he basically go kill her. Okoye's like, bitch, I'm raising. I miss mama. Like, what you thought this was? So I don't know.
Like he stood there.
But I like
adorable.
Okoye and their dialogue too. I like the relationship because he has respect for this woman. He has respect for her. So I loved how she stood her ground with him and like that, because that was realistic. She was like, look, you can't, like, you got to think clearly about this shit type thing, like, and I really loved that scene where it kind of brought him back in type of thing. But other than that, yeah, it didn't make sense why he was upset. Like, okay.
I think it makes a lot of sense in the context of the movie, because I mean, if you think about it this way, he understands everything that comes with being king, but they grew up together. So T'Challa's like his best friend, and his best friend's leaving the country, promising him that he's going to get justice for the death of his parents. So imagine like the rage you would feel, and how badly he wants to see that justice, and how badly he wants Claw to die and get that revenge for what happened to them. So yeah, I think like in the moment, and because he does turn back by the end of the film, I think for that period of time, it does make sense that he would be like, I don't know if you're going to be the king that I want you to be. Yeah, we're best friends, and yeah, we grew up together, but like, if this is the way things are going to go for the country, I'm kind of on Killmonger's side. Like, I want justice for the things that have been done to Wakanda. And you just proved to me the first time you went out to get justice that you couldn't do it. So yeah, we're buds, but I don't know. That's the way I read it, at least.
And you see, I agree with everything that you just said, but my problem is because they grew up together, because for a fact that Claw was able to get into Wakanda and get out with like trailers full of vibranium. On top of that, he's been able to elude T'Chaka for years. This was my first time trying to catch him. Like, your thought process is to go from that to, well, I guess I'll just let him die, and then I'll just go with Killmonger because Killmonger was the one that actually brought my parents' killer to justice. It's just a little bit too much for me.
I'll say this: I see that the way they built up, the way that T'Challa was portrayed up until this point was that he was going to be strong. He was going to do what his father couldn't. He was going to make those tough decisions. So, Wakabe as the homie is like, all right, bet, I'm with you. I'm rolling with you, especially since they grew up together. And T'Challa's always been more hard exterior than the version that we get afterwards, where he's more open to being around other people. So when you do go out, and again, this is your father, when you do go out, and you don't get that revenge for your friend, and you actually let mans walk away scot-free, that pain is gonna supersede any and all logic, you know, that sense of betrayal. And so for me, Chris, like you said, it made sense for this to happen because we had conflict from the outside about regarding T'Challa, you know, Killmonger. M'Baku doesn't count from the outside, but we didn't have someone personally connected, like closely related to him. But W'Kabi served as that internal conflict that, you know, not every story has, but I'm a fan of when there's internal conflict too. Like, you got to have the friends question, like, yo, is you really about this life? Like, this, can you do what you say you're going to do? When you have pressure from both sides, it, in my opinion, it helps develop the character that much more. And so while it could have been done more cleanly, I felt that it was necessary to make T'Challa who he ended up being, because it was no longer like, oh, how does the outside perceive me? It's like, no, I got to worry about the homies. Like, how do they see me? How do I look to them?
I understood that. I just felt like it didn't hold weight for me, because I understand all of that. I do. I just felt like the way they transpired doing it, I didn't feel that weight.
He didn't even have an internal struggle.
He didn't. I mean? And that's what I said about the whole, like, it seemed like he didn't, like, he wasn't that angry. He was just like, well,
and plus, like, and he didn't question Killmonger, like, oh, he got the, like, we don't know if in the unedited version there was a scene that they had a conversation, but in the version we saw, there was no conversation. Probably behind while they walked there to meet T'Challa the King and speak about this. Maybe I haven't, but I felt like, I feel where Chris is coming from. I'm between Chris and James. Thought, like, I get it in story perspective why he switched. But then it's like, what were those 20 years of growing up as friends? And then you just see me going out the first time on the field trying to catch a guy that eluded my father for a good 30 years. You thought I was going to give him one try? Maybe the third or second try, but like one
the
try.
First try, dude?
That's impossible.
If you want to talk,
I think the dude got his hopes up.
Your father,
I think that's what happened.
I expect you to get it done on the first try. I fully expect it. Don't talk this big game like you about it, and that is. I have such high standards for you, especially because I'm closely connected to you. You know, right. I know what you. So it's not that. So I'll say it like this: it's not really just someone mentioned it. It's not really T'Challa's fault. It's W'Kabi had built up this pedestal. This had set such a high bar for T'Challa, and he failed to meet it. Unfortunately, now that's not exclusively T'Challa's fault. Like, I'm not going to put the blame on him. That's also what W'Kabi's, but it makes sense in that case when you look at it that way. Like, high bar for this guy. Like, you're going to get it done. You're going to do what your father couldn't. I'm going to be at peace. You my homie. I know you got me.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay.
And also, too, Wakanda isn't perfect. Like, I know hopefully with the second movie coming out, they'll dive in deeper to, like, how the comics, you know, deal with how there's a lot of social injustice within Wakanda. So I guess that was kind of like a little start to that. Now that the borders are open, that kind of thing, there's going to be even more, you know, things to deal with. But just that situation in particular, I was like, Killmonger came and just, you know, threw, you know, Witch King's body, and he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Ray, where do you stand on this?
So it makes sense to me because, and Abe kind of touched on it, there was an expectation that W'Kabi had for T'Challa, that as his best friend, who now is king, technically betrayed and failed him on two fronts, as his king and as his best friend. He wasn't able to get the justice for him. So it hurt him much more than just a regular person. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, and so he had that much trust in him because, like, you're the Black Panther, bro. We know what that means. You have the tools and the skills to do it. Why weren't you able to complete it? And there's a song lyric that perfectly summarizes why it seemed like he turned so quick. Corrupt a man's heart with a gift. That's how you find out who you're dealing with. That was the very easy way for Killmonger to literally take control of that man's heart because he brought him exactly what he wanted.
Yep.
Something his best friend couldn't do for him, and this random outsider who was claiming to have claim to the throne. Easy choice for him.
That's
You're right.
So it's like
that's a good point.
I get it, but it's also like, yo, that sucks because he was so set and blinded by this revenge that he turned on his best friend, and not only his best friend, his king, and the rest of his folks, bro.
Oh, exactly. And on top of that, like you mentioned, he was so focused on revenge. So now he's just like, you know what? We can't let these people wrong us like that. And Killmonger's further promising, like, hey, we're gonna hit them first. We're gonna empower our people. We're gonna finally stand up for ourselves.
Which is valid. It's very valid.
Yeah, the corruption just
Killmonger came in and was, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, Thanos is right. Killmonger actually had a point. Yeah. We got people out there like us dying, and we could do everything about it.
His execution is wrong, but his ideals are correct.
Well, what's her name was saying the same thing.
Nkoye,
Nikita was saying the exact same thing to T'Challa. Because she was out here, you know, doing.
And she was doing she was doing it in the way that is more. I mean, not to him. Like, he didn't like the way she was doing,
but in a good way.
Yeah. So that's what I love that coin there, because I'm like, no, they're saying the same thing. They're just doing it very differently. One comes from a place of anger and resentment and you know, revenge. One comes from a place of love and self-sacrifice and perseverance. It's real good.
So that was the second thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad that you gave me the perfect transition, Ray. So, Chris, where do you land on this? Like, how do you feel about Killmonger's plan and his ideals? Like, where do you land on this?
So, in my eyes, you know, Killmonger is a radical, and while he makes a lot of good points, true points, I tend to be more of a pacifist. So I think I'm always going to side with T'Challa, because he wants the same thing for his people, but he wants to do it in a peaceful way. You know, it's not about Wakanda going out and attacking the rest of the world to prove their dominance. It's about Wakanda going out and sharing their resources with the rest of the world to prove what a global powerhouse they are. You know, so they're proving their power through sharing their experiences and their technology and what they have to offer. Whereas Killmonger wants to assert his dominance by toppling everyone else. So I don't know, that I'm always gonna lean toward T'Challa, even though Killmonger makes a ton of good points, and that's why he's such a great villain. Great villains are characters where there's a moment where you're listening to them and you're like, oh shit, I think I kind of agree with you. You know, like same with Thanos, and I know we'll be talking about that later, but that's why Thanos is a villain. Sometimes you listen to him and you're like, maybe you're kind of right, but you're also fucking crazy. You know, but Killmonger is such a great villain for that reason. You're listening to him talk and you're like, damn, you're making a lot of really good points, but you're super violent. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's like I land like right in the middle of them, because I believe in fighting for what's right, but I don't believe in committing mass genocide to ultimately get to a planetary dictatorship where he's the king of the world and Wakanda rules. Like, that's not what we're supposed to do. Just because we were oppressed doesn't mean that the solution is to oppress everyone else. That's not the way. But I also completely disagree with the ancestors for not reaching out and helping the rest of the world in any way. Not just black people. That's important, but not just them. There are people dying from cancer. There's people who are paralyzed, and Wakandan tech can easily fix these issues. So this is where I have a huge problem, and I love that by the end, T'Challa switches up on everything and decides to open up Wakanda to the rest of the world, because there's so many countless lives that can be saved. And if you don't do anything, you're just as bad as the people that go out and murder these people, in my mind, because you have all of the resources. It would cost you nothing to help. Like, there is a mountain, like Klaus said, there is a mountain full of vibranium, the strongest, most versatile substance in the universe. They've been mining it for thousands of years, and they haven't even scratched the surface. Wakanda can help, and I'm finally glad that they're doing that. Vash, where do you stand on this?
I feel 100%, like the Mandalorian have said, this is the way. I agree with Killmonger, but his execution of what James said is that you cannot treat them as how you got treated from them. You cannot treat them as the oppressor of how you got treated. It's like you cannot be negative with negative. That will not make a positive. And I get where Killmonger is coming from, but there's a better execution of how to get where you want to be. Like, okay, cool. You want to protect your people around the world from the slavery that happened, and you want to fix what the ancestors, what the previous king. Like even when T'Challa asked his father and everything in the second time, and when his father said that he has failed and everything, when T'Challa figured out that there is traditions, there is rules, but you could fix and improve those rules from before where people couldn't do it now. There's times changes, and I love to have how T'Challa had that one mindset to keep the borders closed because of the tradition. But at the end of the film, seeing Killmonger's vision and understanding his vision, he wanted to take that vision that he saw, but do it in a good way, in the light way, where it doesn't seem such a execution way to seem like trying to control the whole world.
Yeah, man. Spicy?
Yeah, so T'Challa has my heart, whereas Killmonger has my head. Both of them make sense, and that's why I always recommend that people go take an African and American history class, because a lot of the aspects that was going on in Black Panther was what I learned in that class. It was different ideologies, executed, differently, but both understandably. And that's kind of what Killmonger's father was trying to do. He was trying to help the people, in America and in the neighborhoods, and then having T'Challa's dad kill him, because yes, he did steal Wakanda's tech. He did, technically, do legal stuff. He was still trying to. There was heart there, so it was understandable what Killmonger was trying to do. And since he grew up in that, having his mom die, all that stuff, like all of that was justifiable. All of that was 100% justifiable. And to know that you come from a rich, country that you didn't know about so recently, like your father told you stories of growing up, and there's a way out of all of this, hatred, and they're not doing anything about it, I would be mad too, 100%. And at college, I was Killmonger in college. If you want to have a conversation about social issues, I was your girl. I had the ink and everything. Like I didn't play that. So, but Killmonger's T'Challa's me now. Like more of like, you have to understand, that using your resources and helping people and not meeting the oppressors where they're at their level. And you see that throughout the movie with T'Challa, how he interacts with the SHIELD agents and everyone else, how they have this poise about them. So Killmonger, he did what he had to do, what he thought was right, but at the end of the day, I was with T'Challa all the way. Like, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Abe, where do you stand on this? And then we'll move on to final thoughts.
Man, look, your sense of running theme, Ray had touched on it earlier when we talked about another character before the show. But I'm gonna be real with you. Christopher Priest's 90s run of Black Panther is one of my favorite iterations of Black Panther. The main reason being is that T'Challa did not give a damn about anybody else except Wakanda and his business. He only interacted with people just to be like, yo, are you a threat to my country, to my people?
I'm a king first.
Yeah, exactly. Avengers are like, hey, he's like,
I
don't need to be buddy with you. I just need to know that what you about to get into isn't going to rock with me and my country.
Remember that time he pulled up, whooped all their ass?
Yeah.
No. And he was like,
literally,
you only call me when you need me.
Like,
no in and out. So
as a result,
in and out my country now.
I wanted to get that version of the MCU for a couple of movies, and because we did it, I was like, yo, Killmonger, you're closer to what I envisioned Black T'Challa to be before he decides to turn.
And I think that was the point.
More.
That was the point.
Yeah.
And as such, Killmonger, I'm rocking with him. Yeah.
But also,
I'm rocking with Killmonger. All right. There's a certain
and Baku
theme
was like that too.
that I rock with.
Yeah.
And Baku was similar. Yeah,
they're similar.
Me and Baku we had a conversation.
T'Challa was like that, but it was his father. Him understanding like his father wasn't perfect. That really made his character question a lot.
Oh yeah, and it made sense. It's just like, again, 90s Priest version. That's the version I wanted the MCU for at least a couple movies. That way it could be like, hey, look, everybody in MCU Avengers, he ain't somebody you just mess with. That boy, like he rocks with y'all now, but he will whoop y'all asses if you keep messing with him and his country. All right.
I do think they figured it out real quick in Civil War. I think they figured it out real quick.
That's what I was gonna say.
I say they figured that out real quick. You don't mess with the king of Wakanda.
T'Challa. could have been what Abe's talking about. But because he encountered Zemo in Civil War and saw how revenge and hatred was corrupting him, that made the character flip.
Exactly.
Further emphasize that. I was like, yeah, but no, y'all robbed me. I needed more of that. I mean,
and I'll be honest, that would not have been very fun to watch for long in movie form. I'll be very frank with you, especially for a king, because then it seems petty. You know what I'm saying? It makes it's kind of wasted. Because, like, you're a king. You are supposed to be better than everybody else in certain aspects.
Right.
So.
True.
Yeah. So, Chris, I want to start with you. Final thoughts.
Oh, this movie's a gem, dude. Like, this is a standout film in the entire MCU. And I think it'll always be that way for everything that it represents. So, I love this flick.
Yeah. Spicy?
Yeah, 100% rewatch value. I mean, I love it. Like, when I first watched the movie, I saw these two little kids outside the little the movie poster pointing out which character that they are, and I just like got so like heartfelt inside because you don't see that a lot with movies. So, and a superhero movie at that, I love the whole representation of all of it. Like it's great.
Abe?
Great superhero film that you just got to rewatch with the family by yourself. There's always moments to make you happy, to make you sad, without having to traumatize you in any way. This was just a solid film.
Yeah. Vash?
We didn't really talk much about M'Baku and what Black Panther 2 can bring in the future, but I would like to see more M'Baku as a character and what he could be in Black Panther and how he could be more involved, because I like his interaction with the royal family. I like when he told them, like, we don't eat people, we are vegetarians.
That was so funny.
Like those type of comedies and everything, and the way that he just saved T'Challa and the way he just, shy away, and like those body language, those characters. Like, this film is such a gem. It's in my top 5, top 3 for a reason. I enjoy this film for what it is because it's great score, great editing, great choreography. Like, it has great everything. No matter CG, not every CG type of special effects will hold up 20 years from now and like that. But for what it is, it's still an enjoyable film, and I loved it, and I will continue to rewatch and still be detained, and most likely cry all the time now from his passing.
Ray, final thoughts?
So, I mean, and I don't say this lightly when I say Black Panther is my favorite superhero movie, like, just straight up. And it's just because, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, it's because he's black. Yeah, it's because he's black. I think about that. That's some representation I literally thought we were never going to get on that level of seriousness. We've always been like comedy and gag characters and bad guys and thugs and gangsters. That man's a king. That's a big damn deal to me, and always will be. And I think it's a big deal for like black kids that were growing up that had, they got to grow up seeing that on this. Like, that's a mindset thing. Your representation matters. But yeah, this movie does so many things right from a movie perspective that, I'm like, that also makes me enjoy it so much more. Like, it's just a very good movie, if you ask me. And I could rewatch the movie. Like I said, this was the first time I've like rewatched any of it since his passing. And it's hard, be very honest, because he does so well as T'Challa, and I'll never forget that performance, and it's going to be one that's impacted me as a person, literally. I love this movie. I can see its flaws, but I also just understand that it is something I enjoyed and resonated with. It was for the culture, and it mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love this movie. We already talked about everything, the costume design, the cinematography, the score, the exploration of Wakanda as a country, like the fact that it felt like a real lived-in place, and now that it's open to the rest of the world, I can't wait to see how good the rest of the MCU will be now that they have those resources from Wakanda. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in Black Panther 2. Ryan
Dude,
Coogler.
We're already seeing it with Falcon's costume.
Right.
Yes.
That's true. Yes.
Captain America, sir.
I'm so sorry. Captain America.
They took out a loan to get Cap's new suit.
But yeah, man, like this, like Ray said, like this one was for the culture. The Oscars are absolutely full of shit for trying to stick it in the participation, the popular vote, the popular award. I thought that was absolute bullshit. It's like, no, if you don't think it's Best Picture worthy, just don't do it. Don't create some bullshit award, some participation trophy just to please the darkies. I don't want it. So yeah, man, we've said it all. This is an incredible film, and I am ready to transition to one of